All right, Kyle. Appreciate you coming on today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, so obviously you're a realtor, that's why you're on here, and I kind of want to get an idea starting out. What about you being a realtor really drew you to the industry? Because I'm going to start to get into like your background a little bit, but I really want to know like why become a realtor?
Why did I choose to become a realtor? In my head, I knew that all the wealthy people had real estate. I knew that I needed to somewhat be involved in real estate in order to be successful, because in my mind, I wasn't going to settle for less. And I knew I wanted to buy into real estate. So naturally, I started listening to the podcasts, watching YouTube videos, and I got my license and, eventually got into the investing side of things as well. But in general, I would say just the simple fact that most of the wealthy people in the world own real estate.
Right.
And I wanted to be able to expand.
Okay. And so was the goal really to get into investing? Was that sort of like your end goal, or was it always to be in the service part, the sales part?
It was definitely to be an investor.
Okay.
That was the first thing that would come to mind. I didn't think I'd be a salesperson in general. Because it's completely unrelated to what I went to school for, So it was just a matter of, once I started diving into the real estate world, I obviously learned the transaction side of things, because you kind of see how deals go through, the whole process, and it was just kind of easy to go into the sales part as well as, learn the investor side of things as well.
Right, yeah, because I saw you were an engineer before this. Mm-hmm. So you went to college for engineering?
Yep.
What kind?
Mechanical? Yeah.
So how long were you working in engineering in that field?
So I was working as an engineer for probably about 2.5 years.
Yep.
And when I started working in the field, it was more so like quality engineering. I did some electrical work, and then I did some like design work with SolidWorks and stuff along those lines. So it was about 2.5 years I did that. And the real estate thing was kind of in parallel with that.
Okay, so you always kind of had that idea going into engineering in the beginning too.
Oh yeah, so this whole engineering, whatever you want to call it, turning my wheels in the real estate world, right?
Yeah.
It started probably like back in high school when I was like 18 or 19.
Really?
That's when I first started listening to Bigger Pockets. I was watching a great YouTuber, Meet Kevin. I don't know if you've heard of him. He is
familiar.
Yeah, he's so knowledgeable that it's just like, it's crazy that his stuff is free. I was so dedicated to watching his stuff, listening to Bigger Pockets, that it's like all I was talking about was like how one day I was going to do this. And that was right as I was going into college, right? My interest was already there. And then my freshman year of college is when I, coughed up the money and just took the test, right?
Yeah.
Took the classes and then took the test.
And when was this? You said
that
freshman?
Was freshman year of college.
Okay.
Yep. So that was what, 2019? Yeah.
Oh, so you had your license. You got your license early.
So I got my license. Actually, no, it was 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, 2020. And I got my license like the end of 2020, beginning of 2021.
Okay.
But I don't think that's adding up. Yeah, it is.
That makes sense. I think.
Yeah.
We must have got ours at the same time then.
You did it? Really?
I think so.
Yeah.
I got mine when I was 18, which would have put me. I was born in 2003, so maybe 21. Yeah. So I'm January 3rd of 21. Mm-hmm. So I got it like end of 2020, early 21.
Okay, yeah. So we're on the same lines.
Okay.
Yeah. And at first it was difficult kind of navigating what I really wanted out of it.
Yep.
Because I was still going to college at the time when I passed the test, and I was just, all right, I went to the first brokerage and I stayed there. Basically, I didn't really interview people. I didn't really know the whole process. I didn't know a whole lot of people in it. So I was just putting feelers out. And eventually switched brokerages a couple times. But I started getting it. Like, I'm like, okay, I got the process down. And it's basically like lead gen is the biggest part of the whole business. Yep. And that's what I've really been honing in on now that I am now that I'm fully part-time, or fully full-time, I should say.
Yeah.
I was part-time for most of that time that I was licensed. Now that I'm full-time, I can really hone in on that lead gen, and I've seen what it's brought me.
Yeah.
And it's been a huge difference.
No, that, I mean, when it comes to real estate, like in general, it's all lead gen. Mm-hmm. Like on the investor side of things, you know what I mean. Was your multi, was that on or off market?
That was off market.
Yeah. So exactly, just another form of lead gen. And so I assume that like just your time being an agent trying to generate those leads also helped you just learn how to generate leads for anything in real estate. Not necessarily just, hey, do you want to buy or sell? I'll represent you. But hey, I want to buy. Now I'm the buyer. And it's kind of the same sequence of events, but actually mastering that is a skill.
Yeah, definitely. And the transition from like being engineer to realtor, it was a lot smoother than I thought it would be. Because like I had the systems in place. I knew the numbers. I knew how to make someone feel good about a purchase of a home.
Yeah.
Like I knew that, and I was confident about that. So that's kind of like what I brought into it. And in general, it was just like, all right, I bring all these skills from this career. And once I started actually closing deals, I was like, I really don't want to be doing this all the time and talking about the engineering side of things, because it's time consuming. It doesn't feel as good when you're working for someone else.
Right.
I got into real estate because I wanted more out of my life. I wanted more out of my, career, and I wanted to build something bigger. I wanted to build a legacy in a way, because, I mean, one of the biggest like motivators for me was just, my family never had money. Mm-hmm. Like, it was always an issue. Ever since I was younger, money was always the biggest issue. And that is what pushes me, what keeps me going, because eventually I want to build a business, Right. I want to have something that I can, help support my family, my younger brother, my sisters, everyone that I possibly can, in order to, help them get a better life.
Yeah, and so like you kind of obviously brought the emotional side to your motivation from your past, which kind of helps. Sort of my next question was like your background and sort of your childhood and how that molded you, because obviously going from engineering to sales is vastly different. Yeah. But it's funny, the way you posed it makes it sound so alike. It's right. The systems were in place, the numbers hit. It's funny just the way, like, obviously an engineer's brain works. As a realtor, you took a different approach to it. Clearly it's worked. Yeah. But so going back to your childhood, and you don't have to share anything you don't want to, but was that just in general, I know you said fiscally it was a motivator for you, but the way you were brought up in more of a salesy type environment or a very systemized environment?
No, not salesy at all. I would say, like, my dad worked at the same job his whole life. Yep. So ever since he was 18, he went to this job, and it's been the same since. Yeah. And I see some of the things that he talks about with that, and how, he wishes he could do, like, something else sometimes. And my mom, it's like a corporate family. Like, nobody had the entrepreneurial mindset, really. Right. So I didn't have that already, implanted. I had to generate this motivation in me to do more than what the whole family has done. Right. Like in a way, I'm grateful that all the bullshit happened. Like, I had to go through all this shit because I wouldn't, who's to say I'd have this mindset? Right. Like, who's to say I wouldn't want more or be, pushing myself out of my comfort zone? Because when I was younger, I wasn't a social kid, really. Yeah. Like, every school I went to, I never lived in the school district.
Really?
We always lied about it because it was just a better school
Yeah.
system. So my parents were looking out for me like, we want you to be in the better school. And, you know, it wasn't really until like, I don't know, recently that I started becoming more like my own person. I was more social. I was more of an extrovert than an introvert.
Yeah.
Because you got to balance that. Like some of the most successful people are introverts.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
Musk.
Yeah.
Guys like Musk who are just, the face of practically the technological advancement space.
Mm-hmm.
But he's one of the most quiet people you ever meet. He's forced and kind of like we are. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like you'd be amazed at how many guys and girls in real estate in the agency space specifically are so quiet.
Yeah.
They don't want to be out there. They don't want to be boastful, but that's part of the job.
Yeah.
And so being able to that's what one of my videos was about, is pivot and adapt. Like
Yeah.
regardless of who you are and what your skill set is, the idea of having a goal, and it takes, maybe you're good at some portions of that skill or whatever, but there's others that you aren't. And so being able to kind of just acquire those skills over time.
Yeah, you got to work at it. It's like posting on social. Like, I never used to do that. It was out of my comfort zone. But now, like, once you post a couple here and there, and then it just keeps going. And
Yeah.
it'll eventually snowball. And then, so recently I was looking at my Instagram, and I was, like, scrolling through my previous posts. I'm like, I mean, my voice in general got better.
Yeah.
Like, you start off, you're, like, quiet, you're a little, like, shy.
Yep.
And, like, you just get comfortable with it. You get comfortable behind the camera. And I think I've just gotten a lot comfortable with, being social when I need to. Going to investor meetups.
Yep.
I never liked going to, like, big events like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, whoa, I get, like, social anxiety.
Right.
I don't want to be talking to everyone. But, you throw yourself in the pool and you sink or swim.
Yeah, well, it's funny too. Like those investor meetups, they sort of come across or they don't come across when you get there, but the idea behind them is those types of events are fake and transactional too. And like for me, that was one of I've always been semi-social, but one of the things that kind of pushed me away from those events was just I was under the impression that they were so transactional. Like I go there and none of the conversations are genuine, and it was more of an insecurity of mine.
Yeah.
Versus, the fact that the reality is that those are like transactional environments, and that's okay.
Sometimes it's good to hear on those transactions.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. That's why when you kind of change your perspective and, like you said, compartmentalize when to be social and when to not, when to also realize that here's a genuine conversation you have with somebody versus here's just one, you're going to go spark a conversation with this investor and see if you can do business down the road. Nothing more.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of the biggest barriers, I think, for most people is really finding when to fit certain things into their place. And that doesn't just go for, being social. It goes for really anything. Like, at what point do I sit down and shut up, right? Like, even at the negotiating table, when do I sit back and shut my mouth? And when do I advance?
Yeah,
when
you
do I
know what information to give and what not to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that, again, in and of itself is a skill. And that skill is, I think, acquired by going to these meetups. That's I think an example of something you can do. That, and I say this every time to everybody, completely changed the sequence of my investing career.
Yeah.
Like going there, I had no intentions of purchasing a property within the next 3 years. I mean, I wanted to, but my idea was like, there's no way. I mean, I'm 18, 19. I started going there. 2 months later, I had one under contract.
That's crazy. That's like the same sequence.
Yeah. Oh, was it?
So, yeah, my very first investor meetup was December of last year, and I went under contract in February.
Yeah. It's same thing.
Yeah.
2 months. And you go because one of the things that these events, and not just for real estate too, like the events, any networking events within your own industry, what it really teaches you is that you're overthinking the entire thing.
Oh, yeah. You get analysis paralysis, right?
That's what I got.
That's literally what it is, because it's like me and you both, we probably know how to analyze any kind of deal, really.
Yep.
And it gets to the point where it's like, okay, what happens when that one does come across? Right? I feel like when mine came across, I wasn't even expecting it.
Same here. Yep.
And then I analyzed it. I'm like, whoa, this is like too good.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking about it, I'm like, all right. I mean, like at first I was thinking like, who do I know that's interested in this? And I'm like, oh wait, this is
Looking at them.
Yeah, I'm like, I got the savings. I can make these numbers work.
Right.
And, you know, it worked out. But it's like, it almost like fell into my lap in a way.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because same idea with me. Mine was on the market for like 45 days when I got to take a look at it.
Was that a flip?
Yeah, it was a condo conversion flip.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I obviously flipped one unit and then I converted the two and sold them off separate. But yeah, it was like on the market for 45 days. And I used to do this thing like when I was going to the meetings, I was hungry. And I still am, but like I was kind of desperately hungry. So I would just wake up middle of the night, like just the way my brain works is I would wake up at like 3 a.m., hop on my email, half asleep, and I'd just go through properties because sometimes agents would list them at midnight or 1.
Oh, yeah?
So I didn't want to miss those. I wanted to be like the first one. So I'd wake up like 3 a.m., half asleep, open my email, and I saw 6 South Ave, duplex in Derry, built in 89. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm going to analyze this thing. And, you know, you're running through the numbers half asleep, so you're not really doing much. So whatever, 10 minutes, I favored it, go back to sleep, wake up the next day, and I was like convinced it was a dream. I was like, oh, I saw this property. I should check my email, make sure, like, you know, it was definitely a dream. Nope, it was right there. And I'm like, I remember the numbers on this. So I talked to my dad. We, you know, scheduled a showing for it. I walked through. I was like, this one, we're getting this one. I don't care how it happens. We're buying it. And under contract, and I think 8 days from then. It took a little bit because I wanted to go see it again. I wanted to get some real numbers put together, and, you know, lending and funding in place. But it was same idea. It's like it came across 3 a.m. I was not expecting it.
Yeah.
Just going through my emails, and that was the first project. And from there, and I'm sure you feel the same way now about multis, you could buy another one, no problem. No stress.
Yeah.
Like maybe not financially at this point.
Yeah,
you probably invested enough.
Finances, they'll get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in terms of just like your apprehension to buying a property, it's the barrier is probably so much lower now.
Yeah, and the cool thing is I took a lot more than just, you know, buying and analyzing a property out of it, because I renovated one of my units too. So that was my first time being basically on a job site like that, and project managing, making sure all the contractors were there when they said they were.
Which they probably weren't.
I mean, some days they're a little late, but they got it done. They were great. And having to buy all the materials.
Right.
Like, I'm like, am I buying the right stuff? There's a couple times I had to return, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And those days suck, because it makes the project feel a lot more daunting and longer than it needs to be. But it was a great learning process for me. And I feel like that will help me immensely on the next one as well.
Yeah.
Because now I have the network of people that I just used, and, you know, it's like, hey, got the next one.
Yep.
You got the call up.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like pushing things through. And that's why, you know, again, one of those other skills, when do you tell a contractor you have one coming up, and when do you not get their hopes up? When do you bring them in on a job? When do you not? I mean, you know, and you might not even know that as well. Just, you know, you did one unit. I work full time on a site. So that also kind of taught me, like, that's
a great experience.
When to say things to contractors, when to not, because, you know, they're running their own businesses. Everybody is their own business within this industry. Yeah. So it's like your plumber's running his own plumbing business. So it's not like an employee that's working for you. So it's a completely different way of communication. So, you know, those things obviously get complicated, but you found your way through pretty easily, and the place looks awesome now, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
It feels great being able to, because that's the one I'm owner occupying.
Yep.
So I'm living up there, and it's like, it's great. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's dangerous. You know, there was a time where I was like, okay, pause. This happened. Move on. Be better. Like you got it. You gotta level up now.
Yep.
It's like I just achieved like a milestone I've had for 5 years.
Yeah.
I just achieved a 5-year milestone. And I'm like, okay, what can I do to 10x now?
Yep. Dude, it's so funny. It's so funny. Satisfaction is completely invisible with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Same thing. I walked out of the attorney's office after closing on dairy
And you felt great.
for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I got in the car, drove home, like, this is great. I'm like, shit, I own a property now, but even more so. Okay, well, now I've just got to get started on demo. Let's just get this thing started.
Next thing.
Closed it, money hit the bank. Again, maybe 24 hours. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But you're right about it getting dangerous, and that's what's always scared me too. Is like, I don't ever want to be satisfied.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize, like, I'll never be satisfied. So I'm happy about that, and I'm sure you are too. But
Yeah.
it's
good to have that mindset.
Yeah. Well, it's a growth mindset.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you realize too, like, sometimes you wish that you could be a little more satisfied. You know what I mean? Or not even satisfied as much as just enjoy your successes. But then you're just like, well, the trade-off is that that's going to hold me back.
Yeah.
And I want more success. So
I feel like it is possible. There is like there is a balance there.
Yeah.
And you do want to be grateful for, like, to me, it's like the little moments. Like, if I have like 5 minutes in my day, just like sitting in the car with no music on, and I'm like waiting to go into a showing, I'd take that opportunity to just like think.
Yeah.
Okay, like, you've done this. Grateful for that. I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for my career.
Right.
And I think that's the best way to get that satisfaction and still have that hunger and that drive to keep going.
Yeah. No, because that's the driving factor, and that's what, that's what really does separate the dreamers, I think, from the entrepreneurs, is really that fine line. At what point do you get satisfied? How early do you get satisfied? Right? Because it's like, you could have closed your first couple of deals and went the complete opposite way. Instead of saving for an investment down the road to continue to grow, I'm sure that was money you had never seen in your bank account before. As you started closing deals more rapidly, you were like, okay,
the thing is, most of my finances came from the engineering job.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So last year I did 4 real estate transactions.
Yep.
So it's nothing to like, clap about, but it's something, right? I mean, I probably did more than a couple agents. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Did more than myself, so yeah.
So it's like that helped give me a savings buffer, right? So like all that money went to savings, but like I was making decent money. Like, it wasn't great, but I was making decent money at my engineering job. So, but to me, I had it set in my mind all along, like, I am only using this job as a leverage point to get money. Like, right. And I was working there for less than a year, and I negotiated a raise. Like, a huge raise. Oh, wow. And it's because I was just that hungry. Yeah. I'm like, I know I'm capable, and I knew my worth in the company because, like, I went in, I was like a jack of all trades for them. And I was just showing my worth. And, I told them, like, this is it. This is time. And they gave me the raise. I was able to save more money. And then that's what led to me, and then it just so happened that property came across, and I'm like, okay, I think it's time to pull the trigger.
So which one did you buy? Well, which one happened first? Did you buy the property then quit? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was so involved with the property. Yeah. That I was going crazy. Really? Yep. I had a panic attack. Like I was in bed one night, and I was just like, holy shit, there is so much going on in my life right now. Yeah. Like, I like felt like, Kyle was like disappearing. He was just getting drowned. Like a different person. Because it was engineering, so it was like 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever. Sometimes I'd work OT. And then it was like, okay, let's look at all the leads that came in from whatever lead source I was paying for at the time. And let's follow up with my clients. But then when the property got into the mix, it was like, all right, we got to stay on top of that too. Yep. I'm like, all right, I need to turn this unit over. I need to kick one of the tenants out. There was just a punch list of things that I needed to do. And it was like one after the other. And then once I got deeper into renovations, I'm like, this is a lot. And I told my work straight up. I was like, honestly, my real estate career is working. Like, people were coming up to me and they thought I was full time.
Really?
Yes. They thought I was a full-time agent because I was posting on social media diligently. I was, telling everyone about real estate, and nobody even knew I was an engineer,
Right.
So it was like people say don't be an undercover agent. I was an undercover engineer, you know? Yeah, I was just using my smarts, doing what I could do at the moment because the engineer or the real estate career wasn't popping off yet.
Yeah.
Like it was a slow build because all my inner sphere they weren't really ready to buy, and
Right.
they still really aren't. But all the business I'm getting right now is honestly just straight lead gen, and a few of them have actually been referrals
Oh,
from
really?
like the 5 deals that I closed, in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm striving for. Like I want every single client I work with to send me a referral.
Right.
That's what everybody wants. So it's just all been clicking now.
Yeah.
And I went on a tangent there, but like I told my engineering company that yeah, I'm putting my 2 weeks in. It's I feel like it's really working out, and this property it's a lot, and I need to dedicate some time to that. And I'm like, I offered him part time. I'm like, I could do a little bit of part time hours if at all possible.
Yeah.
And my boss at the time, he was actually, it was a great conversation. He's like, honestly, I think you should just go all in. And it was cool hearing someone like that doesn't really know me, and just saying like, I think it'd be better if you just went all in
Right.
and did the real estate stuff, because why would I put half my effort there, half my effort
Right.
there? It's like you got to put it all in one bucket for it to work.
Yeah. I mean, that job was more a stepping stone,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I think you just recognized at what point you reached the top and ready to move to that next step.
mm-hmm.
And engineering is probably a good first stepping stone to have for a job.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I mean, props to you for getting that and kind of building up the reserves from that. So yeah, I didn't know that though. I didn't know that most of your funds came from the engineering job. I just
Yeah.
figured because how old are you now?
I just turned 24.
24.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of figured that by the time you had gotten out of college, you were still kind of early in that portion of
Yeah.
the career.
Yeah, because like from the real estate stuff, I think it was like 16K maybe.
Yep.
It might have been before tax.
Yeah. Oh, probably.
So it's not a whole lot.
Right.
If anything, that was just my down payment. So it covered my down payment because I only brought 10K to the closing table.
So you must have negotiated those terms.
Oh, hardcore.
Yeah.
Dude, I got the deal of a lifetime.
Yeah.
So the property is exactly 5 minutes from where I was living with my mom.
Yeah.
And it was just one day I'm like, I'm not like living with my parents was a great motivator because I never wanted to be home with them,
Yeah.
because if I'm at home with them playing video games or doing something else, they're not supporting me for life.
Right.
Like I'm trying to build something better. Like I felt like if I was doing what they were doing, then I would be doing a corporate job,
Mhm.
So I wanted to be different than my family. And I mean that in the best way possible.
Right. Well, you're a different person
Yeah.
from them, and that's really what it comes down to.
Exactly. And so yeah, one day I was just like, I'm just gonna go drive around the neighborhood. I've seen a million Maltese in the area, so it's like, let me just start taking notes and seeing which ones to call up.
Yeah.
So I had like batch leads.
Yep, I have one.
So I had batch leads on my phone, and I was testing out the driving for dollars thing.
I've never done that.
Yeah,
Does it work well?
It's cool. Because you could look at a property, see the number, and then just like click it and kind of get the details.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, all right, I'm just gonna write down the property addresses, So I had a notebook and I wrote, I think it was like 10 to 15 properties, and that one was the one I got was the third one on the list.
Really?
Yeah.
So you didn't even get to the
So
other
I didn't
ones.
even call the other ones.
Wow.
I sent them some emails. I send them emails now.
Right.
Put them on the drip campaign.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it was like the third one, and it was just spur of the moment. I was in the office and Josh was there. I'm like, I just gotta knock these out.
Yeah.
And he was on the phone when I talked to the seller, and initially she told me to fuck off.
Really?
She's like, I was like, I took a different approach than most cold calls. I was like, hey, so I'm a new investor. I'm looking to learn from other investors in the area. How are your tenants treating you? Like, what's the whole process been like for you? And it was like an open-ended question, for them to kind of, oh yeah, it sucks, or it's been good. I'm not interested in selling, you know? But she's like, I don't know you, so I'm not telling you anything. I'm like, okay, let me think on the fly. I'm like, how about this? I will send you an email with my salesperson's ID, my email, my phone number, just not my social security.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she chuckled a little bit, and then she's like, all right, send it over. And then I sent it over. She looked it over. She turned out to work. It turned out that she worked for the police station. So she actually looked me up, looked up my criminal record.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So she went.
So she went hard. Into it. And I was like, she's like, you seem like a legit person. You can call me back. And then the rest was history.
Yeah.
I got in front of her and I was able to negotiate a great price. We got it for $415, and I was able to negotiate almost $25K back.
Wow.
Yeah.
$415. And so what's the bedroom situation? What are the units laid out like?
So they're all 2 bedrooms, but the third floor has a bonus room, which is now just my office space.
That's sweet. Wow.
So
$415.
So I basically got it for under 4.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, right.
Because those concessions paid for all my closing costs, and they even bought down the rate. So I think I'm at 5.4, maybe
5.4.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Looking at 7.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, like 5.4 sounds like dirt cheap. That sounds like free money right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's great. So my mortgage is a little over 32. It's like 32.25, something like that, some random number. And now that I have the 2 units rented below me, I'm making so $1,700 and $1,750. So basically $3,000.
Wow.
So
you're more than living for free, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean utilities.
Yeah. So basically pays for my utilities. You know?
So you're
I'm living for free. And that was like, that took some time to settle in too. I'm like, wow, like the plan worked.
Yeah. It
like literally worked. Like I said I wasn't gonna jump full-time real estate until I was living for free. I did kind of cheat and I jumped early.
Right.
But it was because I had faith in myself. I
kind of needed
vision.
Yeah.
I kind of needed to as well, or else I would have just like got sent to the psych ward.
yeah, right.
I would have lost it.
I remember those days, like how stressful it is because you make not little to no money, but you certainly don't make the amount of money that could justify paying that mortgage outright. You know what I mean? I remember my holding costs were like every month were like almost $4,000 for dairy. Yeah. The mortgage itself was like $3,500, and then you have utilities and all the rest of it. You just get hit with these bills, and you're like, I know exactly what you mean when you said like you had a panic attack. I'm like, I don't blame you. Like sometimes when these numbers, because you're dealing in numbers that are so much higher than you've ever dealt with, right? Like the most expensive thing you probably bought was your car.
Yeah.
Up to that point.
I actually bought the car like right before the house too.
Oh, yeah.
I did like what everyone says is a big red flag. I didn't do it while I was under contract, but it was literally like two or 3 months before I bought that.
You want to hear a funny story about that?
I got a finance vehicle now though. That's gonna.
Well, it was on your credit, so it was probably a plus for your credit since it was prior to under contract.
Yeah.
But I had a funny story about cars and houses. So, about 2 weeks before I went, 3 weeks before I went under contract, my car had shit the bed on me. I think the rack and pinion went, so my steering wheel was just spinning in circles.
Oh wow!
And it was like it had 170,000 miles. So I'm like, I'm not gonna fix it, whatever. So I just started using my truck full time, and that thing's a piece of shit. It's an '08 F-150. You probably saw it outside. That green rotting. So
it does the trick.
It did the trick.
Yeah.
Doesn't anymore. So I was down at my beach house, like 3 weeks later. I'm backing one of our boats into our little, storage area, and I'm turning the wheel. It's on like a berm, and my lower ball joint snaps. My whole wheel assembly folds down, And my beach house is like way out on a peninsula, 7 miles off the mainland on sand. You don't get tow trucks. We don't have power out there. We don't have hospitals. We don't have police, nothing. It's a completely secluded. So I'm like,
You were rolling the dice.
I was rolling the dice and I had already had an offer out.
Yeah.
I swear to God, 5 minutes later, I get a call from the agent. Your offer's accepted. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I'm out 2 cars. Now I'm under contract.
Yeah.
I can't go get a car now.
No.
For another month and a half. So I was driving my stepdad's car for like a month and a half. Second I closed, went straight down to Mazda. I'm like, I need a lease right now. And just lease the first thing I could get.
That's funny.
Because I'm like, but if I wish it had happened prior to, because having something like that on your credit, I know people say it's a red flag, but it really all depends on the way your finances look. And to like, you know, if it's your third car.
As long as it doesn't eat into the DTI, you know?
Right. Like you realistically can only max out your mortgage DTI at a certain point. Mm-hmm. And then you still have leftover for personal loans and things like that. Yeah. So regardless of if you have a ton of loans personally or none, you still only max out, I think it's around 32% is what most lenders tell me. Yeah. It's about 32% of your income is where you max out. So yeah, I don't think that car payment really makes much of a difference.
No. The car's helped me.
Yeah.
It was interesting. When I got that car, I went on 2 showings with that car for the first time, and both of those went under contract.
It's good.
I'm like, this car is my pride and joy.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, this is the best decision I've ever made. And that's the first car I've ever financed. I've always bought like beater cars just outright. And then I'm like, well, I think I gotta bite the bullet and look a little bit better, you know?
That's what I did too. I was like, well, 2 cars in 2 weeks scolded me.
Yeah.
It completely scarred me. So I'm like, I'm done. No beaters.
I was
brand
sick of
new.
seeing rust. I was sick of like going to the shop. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with it today.
Yeah. I was sick of dragging mine with an F-350 down the beach, shoveling sand with it. So
yeah.
I decided a new car was probably my new vibe.
Yeah.
All right. I kind of want to switch gears. And I want to hear it from a realtor's point of view. I know obviously I am, but somebody else. Sort of like how you in your own business and how you deal with clients and really like what you bring, how you perceive that you bring value to your clients. I mean, I know, you know, obviously you represent them and you help them buy a home, but like a little bit deeper than that, what is it that you perceive yourself as bringing the most value to your clients?
Honestly, I think that having that engineering background is a big flex.
Okay.
Because there is some questionable realtors.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And they might not know the difference between some stuff. Mm-hmm. Especially like mechanically in a house. Like,
yeah.
Typically like I feel like whenever I go on a showing, I know every single answer. Every answer to any question they could ask.
Right.
And that's just I might have a good memory, but like I just like, you know, I can look at it and be like, all right, that's in good shape. That's a DIY project.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Little stuff like that, but I feel like the systems that I have in place are great, and I can flex that to my clients. Yeah. And I can also, I would say my negotiation skills recently have just been unreal. Yeah. Like if you go through my stats, some of the properties that I got for the prices that they're at, it's impressive. Like what could I use for example? Well, my Maltese one of them. Yeah. But there was a few clients that I got like colonials for $400. Really? Yeah. And it's like little stuff like that I actually cherish when I get someone a really good deal, because I don't want to just like try to get top dollar to get the most commissions. Like I would rather just get someone the perfect house for the best price. Right. And that is what I tell people. It's like I know I can negotiate, so don't worry about that. Yeah. You know?
And more often than not, like the realtors who do try and just kind of scrape every single dime they can, it's like it's usually a difference of a few $100s, maybe $1,000. Yeah. But it's like when you're putting your clients in the position for them, I mean, really just the position where they could either afford the house or not afford the house, and your negotiating skills allow them to afford the house. Yeah, you maybe lost out on $500 when it comes down to it, but it meant that first of all you closed the deal. So selfishly, you wouldn't have closed the deal anyways. So you better off at least closing something and taking 500. But more so, it's you represent your clients. That's your job.
Exactly.
Your job, the money, again, follows like really any of these jobs.
And as a buyer's agent, another thing, I'm never going to charge a buyer a fee,
Right.
Like, I know there's some buyer's agents that do. I mean, for the right buyer, maybe, if the situation calls for it. Like, I've had situations where maybe I help out with the seller concessions,
Right.
And then the buyer pays me towards the end. You work it out that way.
Right.
But it's all about like figuring it out, trying to get the numbers right for them. Because the biggest thing for most buyers is the numbers, and for the sellers, it's the net to seller at the end of the day.
Right.
What am I going to get? So when I go to my listing appointment, I will bring a spreadsheet. Like, okay, this is your mortgage, or at least this is what I found online.
Right.
You'll probably be netting this because I think you can get this price.
Right.
And I like to show off that I do know the numbers, I know the market, and I can get the right price for people.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, kind of fit into their affordability. And it's probably pretty fun too, showing a client a house that they think they might not be able to afford and be like, listen, we'll find a way for you to afford this house.
We can make it work.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully I'm not going on too many of those showings where they're like looking out of their price range.
Right, not too far, but something where it's a little dicey. That I don't know, it's a little high.
It's on the cusp.
It's on the cusp, and you're like...
It's like 10K below what they're pre-approved at.
Right, exactly. It's right there.
Like,
and then you go count for a bid, and you're like, you know what? We're going to make it work. We're going to make it happen. No, that's great. So the engineering background, you mean just in terms of the processes? Is that really the value you see?
I would say the processes that I've gotten from that, my organization.
Yep.
Like, I am detail-oriented to a T. Like you, I want everything to be perfect in a way. So I feel like if you have a good system and you're organized, you can achieve that.
Yeah. It takes time building those systems, though.
It does. Like, I've been using Follow Up Boss, and it's all starting to click, too. I don't know what you use for CRM, but, like, Follow Up Boss is great. I set my appointments through there. I follow up through there for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's been a huge tool in my business, I'd say. Yeah.
And, obviously we come from slightly different backgrounds in terms of lead gen because, I know that oftentimes, like when you send out the mailers and stuff like that, more people, I think, are getting the "we buy houses" type mail.
I've gotten like 4 or 5, and I got my house like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, the week after I bought mine, like a wholesaler hit me up.
Yeah,
I was like, dude, I'm
like, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm probably the last person you should hit up because I just got this place.
Yeah.
Why would I give it to you?
And even more so, a wholesaler. It's like, I just got this. If anything, it would be a wholesaler. If I was going to sell it, I would be a wholesaler. If I just bought it a week ago, it'd be because I closed on it to wholesale it. So I'm like, why are you hitting me up? So I laughed at that. But, I see those letters come in more than, hey, I'm an agent. I want to, see if you're looking to sell type thing. So right now, at least, I'm doing a lot of like just on market scouring. I mean, I've sent out over 1,000 mailers in the last 2 months. Nothing has hit.
Yeah.
And I've been going to these networking events. Every investor is saying the same exact thing. They're like, I've been sending out thousands of letters, thousands of postcards. Nothing's hitting.
See, for me, I'm not doing it that cold. Because you probably... It's like a generic list, and then you just, send them all out, hope one hits. And that's more so the investor lead gen, right?
Yes, I mean, I customize them a lot more.
Yeah.
I obviously have autofills to do that.
Yep.
But I try and customize my letters a lot more. I go through the lists fairly thoroughly. I like to narrow down my criteria. I don't burst mail, every single family in Salem. Like, I'll maybe pick a street and I want it to be built over after 1950. I want it to be within this criteria so that when the whole idea is not because I'm not looking for any houses outside of the criteria. I want to be able to make sure that my letter is custom enough. So I make sure my criteria is built in a way that I can customize the letter accordingly. So, hey, I'm in the area. I'm looking in the area for single families built, in the mid 1950s. Yeah. So that I can, and not specifically because that's not really a selling point of any sort, but the idea that it gives you an angle to look a little more custom
Yeah.
For investors, it's just slightly tougher because people kind of demonize investors.
Yeah, they do.
So
That's why, like, with my cold call scripts, I try to not come off as, the typical investor.
right.
Try to come off as a more genuine person.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to get better at that. I
Yeah.
also work full time too, so it's like by the time I'm ready to cold call, it's 5 p.m. and
Yeah.
people don't want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could get on the phone, but I've gotten so...
It is, yeah, it's tough to gauge when you should call.
Yeah.
Like, you could call from, like, 6 to 8 and probably get, like, a lot of people on the phone, even from, like, 6 to 7.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because I've gotten a lot of fuck-offs
Fuck
during
off or
those
eating
times.
dinner or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that type of thing.
But that's the thing. You, like, think of a situation in your head. You're like, everyone's eating dinner at 5 or 6 o'clock. Nobody's ever going to pick up the phone.
Right.
But you're going to get that one person that does, and they're just sitting on their couch because they finished eating dinner.
Right.
And like, oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm bored now. I'm full bored.
Because that's the thing with cold calling. Like, I've done it. I kind of step back a little bit from it, but I still do it occasionally. Like, for sale by owners, I'm attacking those still. Yeah. A lot of my lead gen isn't necessarily investor related.
Yeah.
At least just because I took a step back, I'm like, okay, I know my financials aren't there. I just need to bust my ass and get my real estate business, booming so I can build the finances for the next one.
Yeah.
So it is a mix of both. But with my letters, I am handwriting some of them.
Yeah.
But that's more so like people that inquire, like, like on my website, they see how much their home's worth. All right, you're getting a mailer.
Yeah. Yeah, and handwritten.
Yeah.
Yeah, props to you. If I sent out a handwritten letter, people would probably send it back to me.
Who
with
is this kid?
Well,
is this a 3-year-old?
Yeah, my handwriting.
I feel like that
so
too,
bad.
though. But it's like you gotta just roll with it.
Yeah, mine's inconsistently bad though.
So there's a kid in my office who has his sister write him.
See, that's
He
perfect.
pays his sister, and she just writes the letters.
I would do that. I
Yeah.
wish there was I'm sure you could do AI now where they have
Oh, they do. I actually got one.
All right, so I like to ask everybody this too. I know I'm going to get to the question soon, but I like to ask everybody what their 1, 3, 5, and 10-year goal is.
Okay.
And both financially and just lifestyle in general.
Financially and lifestyle. So, 1-year goal. I want to finish out this year with 15 transactions at least.
Okay.
For my real estate thing. I had that on my 2023 goals, and I'm shooting for it. I'm about to have 10 under, so
that's awesome.
I think it's possible for sure. And 5 years, I want to have another 1 or 2 properties by then. And 10 years, I'd want 5+ properties. That's the investor side of things.
Or 10.
Or 10.
Or
10 properties.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever happens. I know I want 5 by 30. And on the real estate side of things, I want to start doing 30 transactions a year, 30 to 40.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the ballpark I want to be in. I don't really dream about doing 100.
Yeah.
I'll be running around like a madman. I'll be a different person.
You can only outsource so much as an agent too.
Yeah. I feel like I just want to make enough where it's okay, I've never made this money before.
Right.
Let's just keep this going.
Yeah.
Lifestyle-wise, just finding that balance to enjoy the little things, having that time to spend with family and still be present even though, we tend to work. That's always a constant goal of mine. And maybe put on a couple more pounds of muscle like you.
There you
go. And then, yeah.
You're putting up good numbers in the gym, though. I saw you when I was at the zoo.
Yeah.
You were throwing up the 80s like butter, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are going up smooth.
Nice little dumbbell press.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so weak in the chest, dude. I am so weak on chest.
I've been doing better recently.
Yeah.
I've been supersetting a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too.
I've been on my superset grind.
Yeah.
So it's I'm a different person in the gym.
Yeah,
recently.
I do supersets partially for cardio purposes, so I can add in that element to cardio.
Yeah.
But I'll do like yesterday. I think I was doing incline right into plate press, and then I go over, like I go to PF, so I go over to the bikes and I stand in between the two and I do like a set of leg lifts. So I triple set sort of, but I do 2 on chest and maybe 1 on core.
I gotta step it up.
Yeah. Yeah, just you go there and beat that.
I gotta wake up early. I gotta go harder in the gym. I gotta do it.
Yeah. It's I don't know, it burns off steam.
Yeah.
You know how it works.
It is. It's like, I feel like if I don't go to the gym, I'm like, you don't want to talk to me.
No. Like yesterday was a just really frustrating day.
Yeah.
And shit kept happening. I'm like, I gotta get to the gym.
Yeah.
The second I got in there, it was like, whew, I can breathe.
It's nice.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It's nice.
I love it.
Like I'll be going after this, and it's gonna be the highlight of my day.
Yeah. It's great.
So I'm stoked. All right. Yeah. So you kind of talked about where you see yourself in the real estate industry and lifestyle too, putting on a few more pounds. So what's like your dream market, dream goal? So like market in terms of, do you want to still stay in the residential market? Do you want to move into the commercial side of things, industrial? Would you like to kind of eventually move towards investments more than agency? Like, how do you see yourself?
So I definitely want to expand my residential. Like I said, I want to just do more numbers. And I want it to be like a comfortable number. I don't want to overextend myself too much, but like I'm hungry to hit that, 30 to 40. And, in parallel, I want to build that portfolio, the investor portfolio, because I don't foresee myself like giving up one or the other.
Yeah.
Because they just work so perfectly together. I just want to be an agent investor.
Right.
And I just want to keep expanding the portfolio and hitting those 30 to 40 deals a year.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's the dream market.
You think you'll ever get into like flips and construction and projects like that?
Hey, maybe. You need a partner?
Maybe.
you're the flip guy.
Yeah. Well, that's why I asked, because I always.
I'm not opposed to it. Like I'm more than willing to get my hands dirty and do stuff. Like I fix stuff around my house instead of like calling someone.
Right.
Sometimes I shouldn't, but
yeah.
It's a learning process too. Like it's like, oh, a new skill. Let's learn it.
And it's yours. It's yours to fuck up.
Yeah.
Too. So it's like I'd feel worse fucking somebody else's stuff up, but
definitely
my own. I'm like,
but you have like experience with general contracting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That would be so valuable, even being a realtor too.
Right.
So just being like on a job site of a flip, I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's a different experience. I mean, because the whole idea is just every hour is more money. So it's like get guys in and out. And so it's a lot on the project management side of things, just making sure that, and I'm sure you realized it, like there's a lot of prep work for the next sub to come in.
Yeah.
And that's really the big kicker, is like you as a PM, or, I mean, you were a PM for that job.
Basically.
So you as a PM need to be on top of everything, the entire project. You need to know exactly where it's at and exactly where it will be tomorrow, because there's a lot of times where like your plumbers will come over. Even today on one of our job sites, he was supposed to install the tub and we never put a nailing flange for him, and so he couldn't install the tub. He ended up doing it himself, but it's like that
cost
he wasted
extra,
right?
It
cost us extra, and he waited a little bit longer. That's a small item, but like there've been times where we've forgotten somebody in management, whether it's me or somebody else, has forgotten to prep for the next sub, and they're booked out for 2 weeks. They go, they show up, they can't do their job, they leave, and now that house is sitting there for 2 weeks because you didn't prep. So there's it's fast moving, so you got to be on top of things. But other than that, I love the flipping game. I love the construction game.
I'll have to tune in a little bit more.
Yeah.
Pop in on one of your...
hit me up whenever, dude. Like we have the projects going on. We have... The company I work for, we have a ton of subdivisions coming up.
Was it DHB? Is that what
DHB Homes,
yeah.
Yeah, we have a ton of subdivisions coming up. We have one in London area. It's going to be like 20 lots. And then just a few more projects, sporadic.
So who's listing those?
So my boss, and so it's like a family company. And so the two top dogs.
Yeah.
They own DHB Homes, and then one of them had a daughter, and so the daughter's the listing agent for everything. And then her husband is the owner of like the the company I work for the most part. I work for DHB Homes, but they own a subsidiary, and I really work for that one.
Okay.
So she gets all the listings. I mean, it's pretty much her company. So
Gotcha.
I'd love to. Hopefully, she
Yeah,
gets
that'd be
overwhelmed
nice.
though.
I'd love to get into like new construction developments.
Yeah.
And start listing those. That'd be great.
It's a fun game to get into.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, that's awesome. So I wrote that question in here, and
So what is this?
So this is, I just do this every time. So the last podcast I had, my guest asked a question for the next guest, and I didn't tell them who it was. So it's a very generic question, and the idea of it is to formulate it so that the answer from the guest can be applicable and valuable to anybody in the audience.
Okay.
So
that's exciting.
What they asked was, what are you doing or what could you be doing to improve your life, your state of being, and your circumstances?
What are you doing? That's a good question.
Yeah. Yep.
Read it one more time.
Yeah. What are you doing or what could you be doing to improve your life, your state of being, or your circumstances?
Okay. What could I be doing is getting back to that early morning routine, setting that routine in the morning would probably set me up for more success. And like getting the gym out of the way, because I feel like even waking up at like 7 doesn't really justify it, you know?
Right.
I should be going earlier. I'm wasting time.
Because why not? Yeah.
Yeah, because why not?
Yeah.
I should be waking up at 5.
16, 18-hour days, they're good.
Yeah, you need those.
Yeah.
And it's a good mindset to have, because it almost gives you like this willpower. You're like, yeah, I can get anything done now. Mm-hmm. I woke up, got the gym done. It's like, oh, some people are waking up. Good morning.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So really honing in on that morning routine, and I just want to keep pushing myself to do more. Because for a while I was just like soaking it in, and I'm like, all right, we're doubling down, and we're gonna 10x.
Yep.
We're gonna get to the next level.
Some Cardone type shit.
Yeah, 10x. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be.
So that's what you could be doing. What are you doing now? What would you say, like something you give yourself props for that you're doing now?
I'm trying a whole bunch of lead gen avenues.
Yeah.
Cold calling, mailers, Zillow, realtor.com, even connecting with like my inner sphere more. Mm-hmm. Just, I would say my lead gen right now is pretty solid.
Yeah.
And I could see the potential for the future already.
Okay.
Because like I got those buyers in the pipeline that are 6 to 12 months out. Right. So it's like beginning of next year, I'm going to have a spring and there's going to be a line of people there.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
I'm building for next year, and then that's how it's just going to keep going.
Right.
You know? All the lead gen that I'm doing now isn't going to pay off till a year. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
But it's like I just got to keep doing it, which I am.
Those your systems.
Yeah.
Like the engineering background coming to play here.
Yeah, exactly.
You're building something for the future, but more so just so that the puzzle pieces fit in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So, take as much time as you need, but what's your question to the next guest? Remember, the idea of it is so that however they answer, their answer is of some kind of value to any listener in any industry.
To any listener. Okay. It's tough to back up that question.
Yeah.
Because that's a really good question.
Yeah. Well, he's a psych major, so he thinks,
That's good. So I can't say, like, what are you grateful for? Because that necessarily wouldn't apply.
You can ask anything where it's not like, it's not guaranteed that the next guest is going to be a real estate person, so...
That's why I feel like if you were to ask the question, what are you grateful for in your career, mental, physical, everything. Mm-hmm. What are you grateful for? Give off one thing you're grateful for in your work life, one thing you're grateful for in your family life, and one thing you're grateful for, and your mental or spiritual, whatever you may be.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like finding people's sort of like highlighting the positives in your life and separating them from like what you need to work on versus, because like some things are better left untouched. And if you're already a master at something, I think it's good that like you're grateful for the systems that you put in place because you have the engineering background. You're not gonna veer off that path and that thought process. It's better left untouched. Keep it the way it is. So like you were saying, you're grateful for that. So I think that's a great question. I think they can absolutely answer that too, bringing value in terms of like what they're grateful for and what they will leave untouched and sort of continue.
I think it's good to focus on the positives.
Yeah.
Because if you are an entrepreneur or anyone really, I feel like there's a lot of workaholics out there that just like, they get bogged down, they get burnt out, and they just don't take the time to just take that 1 second to think. Like,
right.
Okay, I am actually grateful for this. It's like you're driving in the car and it's raining, it's miserable. I'm grateful my car's driving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just that,
Seriously.
It could be as simple as that.
Yeah, my therapist literally told me last week, she's like, you need to focus on one thing, and it's once a day, just 2 words, feel joy. Once a day for 5 minutes, feel joy. Doesn't matter what you're doing, what position you're in, where you're at, somehow find a way to feel joy.
Yeah.
And
one good thing that I learned from my therapist.
Yeah.
So we're kind of helping each other out building it. That might help you reach that is, for me, I was always like thinking of all these things going on in my life. She says to me, she's like, take everything that is on your mind right now, everything that's just up in the air, all the stuff you have to do today, everything you have to do for work, and spin it around in your head. Just imagine it's spinning around in your head. And what direction is it going? Is it going clockwise or counterclockwise?
Yeah, man. Whoa.
What direction is it going?
It's counterclockwise, actually.
Okay. So now turn it clockwise. Or try to. And it like almost tricks you out. You're like, you stop.
That's weird.
You stop for a second and you're like, whoa, I actually, you have a second of clarity.
That was weird.
Where you stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then maybe that second's all you need to feel joy.
Right, or just open up the possibility to distract yourself for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Or focus more.
Right, focus on that.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great.
Little therapy session to end it off.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, final thoughts. Anything that you have, any advice you have to younger entrepreneurs or, younger people looking to get into the game?
Real estate in particular?
Not even real estate in particular, just
in general?
Just in general, somebody who's looking to kind of separate themselves from the typical path everybody takes of security.
Yeah.
And somebody who's more than likely fearful and doubtful that this industry works.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship works.
I'm just going to, tip it back off to like one of my recent posts where I was just talking about, pushing yourself beyond your limits.
Yeah.
You really have to be put in uncomfortable situations to grow. And if you want to grow financially, mentally, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter what, you have to be uncomfortable in order to reach that point.
Right.
So all the bullshit you're dealing with, it's all for good reason. You got to take the positives out of it, and you got to say, all right, I'm going to work my ass so I don't have to deal with that again, or I don't have to do that again. So to anyone that's trying to get into an industry or they want to start their own business, it's just pushing yourself beyond what you do on the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Do that extra step that you were thinking, I'll do it tomorrow.
That leap of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Awesome. Anything you want to plug?
I don't know. Add me on social.
Yeah, any of the socials you want to
So
throw
you
in
can
there?
follow me on Instagram at waz.homes, and you can follow my Facebook page, Waz Homes. And stay tuned. I'll probably be selling a house near you.
Awesome. Hey, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for coming on.